So I do hope that, all of you come in, show us some love, give us some likes, let us know that you're here. Hi, Meena. Hi, Ashfaq. I see 2 people here already. This is awesome, awesome, awesome. So last week, I thought the show was pretty cool, and it was a question I asked you all, and the question was, why can't you do it, right? We talked about the challenges you may be having and why can't you move forward. Today, I have 2 questions for you. Yeah, I know, we move forward, right? So the 2 questions I have for you is, what do you want? Whatever aspect of life, right? Be it personal, be it professional, be it family, be it relationship, whatever it is. Of course, our focus has always been on careers. And that's why Mondays with Meena is so important for me, because I share a part of my life with you. And usually I post an excerpt from my unpublished book, I know, so that you can read a little bit about what we're going to be talking about. And so you have a little taster, and that's what I like to do, is give you a little taster and bring you to this story today and talk to you about it. So I hope that you're here, and I hope that many of you will join us. And the other hope that I have is that if you're watching this recorded version or you're here, you're going to ask us questions. And if you're watching the recorded version, that you're going to like, you're going to share, because I can bet you $1 million. I don't have $1 million, but when I do, I can give it to you. But anyways, I can bet you $1 million that someone in your network needs to hear this message today. Yes, today. What do you want and what do you need? You see, everybody's going through a different kind of stress right now. And that stress could be physical stress. You're stuck at home, you're working from home, you're working twice as hard, there's no release, you can't go out, and the pandemic doesn't seem to cease. 4 months you've been stuck at home. Or it could be professional stress, where you were applying for jobs, you were getting interviews, your offers came in and it got rescinded. Or it could be that it's COVID and you lost your job. Whatever it is, I want you to think about, what is that big thing, and are you ready to make that change? When I say, are you ready to make that change, I mean it. I say to all of my students, and I say to all of my participants, stay away from naysayers. We've been talking about this for such a long time. Stay away from naysayers, because the minute you accept that becomes your future. You need to stop, right? I say to all my students that, look, when people tell you that you can't do it, look at them in their eyes and say, watch me. Do you think people didn't tell me I can't do it? So many times. Heck, so many times I believed them. Earlier today, I was talking to a friend of mine. Phenomenal person, very well established, very well established. She's, in a very senior role in an organization, and it's a medium to large organization that provides essential services. She's a genius. And one thing that her boss told her today has broken her, has hurt her to her core. And that's about her not having the greatest communication skill. Do you know how many times people tell me that? And I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe I don't. Maybe I don't have the greatest communication skills, but I do know that what I have is impacting people. I do know that what I'm saying is touching people, and in the right place. As I shared a story of mine, and that's not a unique thing for me. I carry my heart on my sleeve. And I, just like my kids say, you have a story for literally everything. And I do. These are the times that you're going to reflect back on and say, it was because of COVID that I changed the way I thought and I did this. This is going to be that time that's going to make you think differently. You need to look at people in their eyes and say, I am going to change it, and you are going to watch me. You know what this is also doing? This is also showing you your true friends. People who are around you at this time when you need them. I'm not talking about the social media friends. The real people. So what do you want and what do you need? Put it down on paper. And then for what you want, how are you going to achieve it? What are those action steps you're going to take? I wanted to build Destination CEO. I wanted to be able to provide Destination CEO services to anybody and everybody. Guess what? I even put contracts and proposals out there. I wanted to get funding because I didn't want to charge anybody. I put in all of my money for the past 10 years to support this initiative. And I did it really well. There are thousands of people that can tell you that they got help from me without a single dollar. I volunteered my time. But there came a time when I couldn't. So the choice was, do I kill it? Do I let my dream go? Or do I make this move? Do I shift? I was traumatized with the thought that I will have to let this go. So I reached out to somebody who could show me the right way. I got myself a mentor, a coach that showed me how to do it in a different way so that my dream does not end. I surrounded myself with people who believed in me and who supported me, who've been a part of this journey. Are you surrounded with those people? That's what Destination CEO gives you. I found out that the biggest challenge for most people to achieve what they want was the lack of a mentor. So I brought in a group of mentors, and Destination CEO is blessed with having such phenomenal mentors in our tribe. And we get together ever so often, every week, every couple of weeks, and put community events out there. And I'm sure many of you have attended those events. And if you haven't, mark your calendar. We have a couple coming very, very soon in the next couple of weeks. So I brought together all these mentors, and I realized the job search is it's a lonely journey. So guess what? I brought in a community of job seekers who are now helping each other out by sharing leads, by doing mock interviews, by just sharing their thoughts and their lives. And there's so much love in them. And this community is never going to die. This family is never going to die. These friendships are never going to die. They're just going to increase. So where are you stuck? What do you want so badly that you're ready to make a difference? How are you going to make a difference? What are those strategies? So today, let me bring to you my guest today, Julia D'Souza, who challenged, who knew what she wanted. Yes, of course, she had struggles. But then how did she make it on? How did she make that difference? How did she move on? So Julia, yay! Hi, Julia. How are you?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Meena. How are you doing today?
Fabulous, fabulous. I'm so excited you're here today.
Yeah, I'm excited as well.
Julia, this is your show. This is your floor. You have 20 minutes of undivided attention. Go for it. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us your Canadian career journey now.
Sure, Meena. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I currently work with Enrich as a business analyst. Prior to this, I worked for the top hospital groups in India, Manipal Hospitals and Healthcare Global Enterprises, very similar to the University Health Network in Canada. I currently even volunteer with the University Health Network. I've combined my passion for both business and technology in the roles that I've had in the past, as well as in my current role. Education-wise, I hold a bachelor's degree in biomedical engineering and an MBA in healthcare management. I've always been focused on finding a career in the healthcare industry, and that was how I was thinking when I landed in Canada. So a lot of things changed, and I'm so excited to talk to you about my journey.
So let's hear it.
Sure, Meena.
When did you come to Canada? How did this whole thing start?
Yeah, so I came to Canada in mid-September in the year 2019, that is last year. And I stayed with my uncle then. And within the first 2 weeks, I started turning on my mental calculator. So if I look back at India, $1 Canadian, as you know, is 55 Indian rupees. So every time I went ahead to buy something, I used to feel really bad. And I didn't like that relationship that I had with spending in Canada. This was just because of the difference, as I just mentioned. So I decided that, okay, now I have my savings and it will last me for the next few months. But what if it ends soon? So what will I do then? So the logical step was to get any job that I have, that I can apply to. So I found a job at a warehouse in a leading company. And I thought, why not? I came here with an open mind and I clearly laid the pros and cons. So the pros was that I would get some income, I would get Canadian experience, which everyone was talking about, which is essential. And I would also find ways in which I can spend my time. Since the job was only for 3 days a week, I thought that the remaining 4 days I would apply to roles, and hopefully in another 3 to 4 months, I would find my dream job. So that's when I was clearly looking towards and going in that direction. So my uncle, who also works at Humber College, introduced me to Meena, and he said that he knows Meena very well, and she does placements for all the Humber students. And as of now, she has a record of 100%. And he told me that if you go to her, your life is going to be sorted. Just follow everything that she says. And that's when I was very excited. And then I thought, I also told Meena this story where I was contemplating of whether going ahead with that survival job, or should I completely dedicate my time towards finding a job in my field. So Meena was really angry with me. I clearly remember she said that you have someone who is going to take care of you. You're not spending on accommodation as well as food. And why are you worried? Give it your all. So I believed her and I gave it my all. So initially it was very difficult for me because I just didn't know what goes into searching a job in Canada. So there are various things that Meena introduced me over a course of time. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that particular day when you were contemplating and I called you.
Yeah. So on that particular day, I think the way I thought about things changed completely. The value addition that I got was that you offered to me a lot of networking events. So you said there's this one coming tomorrow, there's this one coming day after tomorrow, and then there's like you gave me a calendar of what's going to happen in the next 1 month. And that's when I felt like, okay, I can spend my time going to these events. So I clearly remember the first event that you told me to go to. It was by the Women Who Lead Network, and it was in downtown. I lived in Brampton then. So it was a long journey. It took me around 3 hours to get to downtown. And I was clearly exhausted when I reached the venue. And what you told me is that, you know what, go there and meet 5 CXO level executives and talk to them, tell them your credible introduction, tell them your story, get in their contact details, and come back. I somehow forced myself to do that, even though it was very uncomfortable because I'm a very shy person by nature. And it just didn't feel like the right thing to do because I always felt that I don't have a job over here. Maybe if I had a job, I would be very confident telling them about myself. But that I'm looking, I found it very awkward and difficult to say that. But somehow I managed to get in their connections. And what Meena told me to do is to follow up with them on LinkedIn. So I send them an introduction of who I was. I also send them a portfolio of the projects I've done in the past. And many of them looked at it, and some of them invited me for coffee by themselves. So that improved and increased my confidence a lot. I felt that, okay, they are having the patience and the time to at least look at who I am and the value that I can add. Many of them sat with me and told me that maybe you need to do an additional course. Some people said, why don't you start volunteering? That's a good way to understand about the Canadian culture, and maybe somebody will pick you up if they find that you have good skills. So I tried to do and incorporate whatever they had suggested into my schedule. So this was the first networking event, and it was successful, I'd say, if I look back. The second networking event that I clearly remember is when Meena called me to Humber College. So the students at Humber College were exhibiting their projects. And I was also told to be with all the students and, network with the industry leaders who came there. I found it very awkward because I felt like I'm an outsider. And then you have students who are exhibiting their projects. So I always felt like they deserve the most attention. But Meena told me that they will be ready for placements in another 6 months. Right now, nobody is applying to jobs. They are just building connections. So I can go ahead and build connections. So that event, I met Amir Syed, who I'd say is my first mentor from Destination CEO. At that time, I hadn't even joined Destination CEO. It was just like a relationship or a connection that I had with Meena that took me towards this journey. And Amir started looking at my resume. He suggested a 1-page resume over a 2-page resume. He also told me how to never give up, how to like find something very similar to another person on LinkedIn and have a credible conversation, not and be very strategic in my approach to applying for jobs. So after that I became very strategic. I knew why I wanted to connect to some another person, and I was really and genuinely interested in that person. It was not like only for a job I wanted to connect. I was okay with knowing that person, and if that person referred me to someone else, I was okay and open to those kind of connections as well. One thing interesting that happened during my journey at Humber College is that all the students started telling me, oh, you're a job seeker. So that made me very uncomfortable, because I was used to calling myself, like keeping it in very delicate terms, in terms of saying, you know what, I'm trying to understand what's happening in the Canadian workplace because I'm from India. I didn't want to accept it. But that day when I went home, I accepted it, and internally I knew that yes, I'm going to be comfortable telling my friends and family and the world that hey, I am looking for a role, and if you find something, why don't you help me or take a look at my profile and share it. So this made me more open to the way things are over here. It also led me to my first LinkedIn post, and a lot of people, especially my friends, said that hey, we have offices in Canada as well, do you want to be referred? So that got me a few referrals, but I was not able to make it at those interviews. My resume went through because of the referral, but at the interview, somehow in the last few rounds, I just couldn't make it. So that's when I realized, okay, I'm really lacking something. I need to improve on various things. At that point of time, Meena didn't have her cohort, and I had to look for various other organizations to at least give me that push. And the best thing was, Meena was totally okay with it. She said, anything that improves you, go for it. So that's something I admire in her. So at that time, I used that time to build my resume. I obviously got Meena's feedback at every step. I learned how to interview with confidence, and I built a network of other job seekers who were in the same boat. So I had someone to share my story and experience with. So that's my story about networking, Meena.
So, in all fairness, when you and I connected, it was because of your uncle calling me and telling me that you were on your way to take a factory job, which I did not want you to take because
Yes.
it took me to a bad place in my life. And I didn't have Destination CEO cohorts running because that was the time where I, I volunteered helping newcomers and I volunteered helping new
Yeah.
grads. So it was just natural that you were his niece, who a co-worker's niece, a peer's niece, and I just invited you to come and understand how networking is done. So I'm really glad you came there and you went through the different aspects. So tell me, so then things changed, the journey changed for you. Where was that shift? Let's talk about that first interview or the first job that you got.
Yeah. So Meena, I joined your cohort, as you know, at the end of November.
Our
Uh,
first cohort,
yeah,
yes.
at the end of at the end of November, and that was a time when hiring was a little slow as well. If you look at the general trends, it's generally
Holiday
higher in
season.
January to say April or May. So at that time, I gave my all towards this official job search with you, and I came with an open mind. You told me that I need to apply to 3 companies a day, so I did that. And I think within 2 days of joining your program, I got an interview with someone who was in your network. And when I learned more about it, you told me that a lot of your Humber graduates were working over there or have worked there in the past. But I decided not to go ahead with that option because it just didn't suit my profile. So that's when I decided that another thing that I had in my mind was that the job was not in the healthcare industry. I've generally worked in the healthcare industry and I really loved being there. So I thought that there is an industry mismatch as well. So I was a little closed then. I was like, I'm only taking up things in the healthcare industry. So that's how I had to look for another role. And I think within another 2 weeks, I got an new role again through your network because of the post that I share on LinkedIn. And in that role, it was a generic role. It was more into the consulting space. I really liked everything that was happening. But somewhere in my mind, I had this fear that what if things don't work out? And there were very few people in the company. So I was like, if I was not able to communicate effectively, then I would be in the shoes where, I'm looking for jobs and I'm not doing well in them. So I felt like in India, I was very good at what I did, and I didn't want my confidence to fall. So I kind of said no to that opportunity as well. And it's at that point of time where you introduced me to Biju, who told me clearly that, yeah, I know you have emotions and everything, but I want to see you achieving your goals. So he called that aspect as performance coaching. And Meena is the one who made sure that he came in at that point of time in my life. I reached that phase where I was applying to jobs, getting interviews, but not making it in the final round. So I used to spend around 3 weeks with this process because I'd finish the telephonic screening, then they would give me an assignment or a project. I would do that well. Then I had the second round and the third round. And by the time this entire cycle took place, I would be really exhausted. And I would just be like, my whole mind would be like, what did I do wrong? What could I do better? And at that point of time, the number of applications I sent decreased tremendously. So I was more focusing on, just getting another, like doing well in the pipeline that I already had. So that's when I learned that even applying to jobs, it's like a sales role where you say apply to 100 jobs and only 10 of them will work, and keep the pipeline going no matter what. I learned to manage my emotions, and I made it in my schedule that I'm going to sit for 3 hours and I'm going to apply to various roles. So that helped me from a point where I was getting few calls to getting some calls to cracking few interviews to getting to the final round of various interviews. I finally cracked the interview with Enbridge, and I'm very thankful in a way to Biju Mishra, my current boss, Edward, who are also mentors with Destination CEO. They saw my journey. That's something I would say very confidently, because I was not someone whom they picked up the first day they saw me. They've seen me working hard right from the time I joined to March. Where I got hired. I'd also say that I got hired in a time when COVID had just come in, and I was very skeptical because I felt like many companies were freezing their hiring decisions. So I felt that they might be doing this as well. So I just kept my fingers crossed. And on another front, I had told Biju that I was someone who used to set deadlines. So I generally set deadlines. When I came here, I told myself by December I would get a role, and it didn't happen in December. I understood it was because of the market conditions, because generally in December people are more into the vacation mode and very few people look to hire. Now, even due to COVID-19, if you're getting a slower response, I feel there are reasons to it. So never give up. That's something that I saw. So I readjusted my goals and I was like, okay, let me give myself till April and then let me see what happens. Because I was with this long process that I had of around 6 months of looking for a role, I was clearly exhausted and I felt like going back. I was like, let me go back home, spend some time with my parents, and then come back, at least with some new energy in myself. So that's how I kind of took it. Biju also told me to take ownership of my decisions. He said that if I'm going back, I should be happy about that decision. It's not like I came here, I tried and didn't work out. I'm really sad. That's why I'm going back. So that's when I learned for anything in life to take complete ownership of everything. Yeah.
And Julie, I want to take you back again a little bit.
Yeah.
So, you joined, and I remember it was 23rd of November. You joined on 23rd of November, and then you got a short gig, and you went through some emotions, and then you just felt you had to stop and take a break, right?
Yeah.
And you actually took a break.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
How important was that break before you started again in the new year with your job search?
I think a break was very important, Meena, because I think you recommended that to me. That I've tried for 3 months. I've gone to various agencies. I have learned everything that is required. I feel even you felt that I am ready to get that role, but I wasn't getting it. So you said that maybe the missing piece is that I need some space for myself. So that's when I took that time to enjoy Christmas and New Year with my family. At that point of time, for 2 weeks, I didn't apply to any roles. I was just having fun. And with the short gig, what happened is that I kind of was so excited about that gig that I told my family and friends, you know what, I got a role in Canada, and I think I'm going to be very independent. I might take up a new place. And my parents and family were very proud of me because they were like, okay, she's gone in September, and by December, she's found something. And everyone referred it to as a Christmas or a New Year gift. And then when I realized, okay, I'm not going ahead with this, that's when I was like, I felt very bad. I was like, am I missing technical skills? What skills am I missing? Started introspecting within. But I'm glad it lasted just for a week. And it's kind of very important, I feel, for me to know what organizations suit me very well. And I think that's how I found the current role at Enbridge.
Yes. So the importance of taking a break, doing nothing, and sometimes just reflecting back on what's happened, how could you do better, and re-strategizing. It's very important, right?
Yes.
And when you came back, you were once again positive. You were the Julia we knew when she first landed. You were fully energized and you had your strategy down. You had all the knowledge, and now it was all about implementation.
Yes, Meena.
Right. So thank you, Julia. That was absolutely fantastic. Do you have a few final words to say to our audience that are looking up to you as an inspiration, as a motivation to, to move forward? A little bit
Yeah.
about action, reflection.
Yeah, as I reflect back on my job search journey, one thing that I felt is that the most powerful thing is to get the right people to refer you for a role. And there are various ways to do this. One thing is by networking, which Meena taught me very early on in my journey. I spoke to as many people as possible. And many of the times, it was not like it directly led to me getting a role. It was more like, hey, I work in this industry, but I know somebody in another industry who's my friend, so I will introduce you to this person. So that helped me a lot. And the mentors that we have at Destination CEO, I had a panel of around 30 mentors, out of which I spoke to each and every mentor. And I then zeroed in on, say, 5 mentors who I felt a connection with. And these people were always there for me because I built that special connection with them. And another thing is, I was very open to learning new things. And I always was open to new possibilities. All I wanted to do was bypass the ATS that we always talk about, and make sure my resume goes to the hiring manager who can take a decision. And most importantly, whenever I felt low, as you know, this journey can take a lot from a person. What I did is I reached out to as many people as possible. I reached out, I shared my story, and I gotten as much of support as I can at every point of time. So I believe this helped me so much. Hi, Meena.
Hi, I think I'm having some technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're back. Sorry, I was having some technical difficulties, so I missed, but I'm sure that you were able to hear what Julia had to say. Julia is absolutely fantastic. She referred so many people to Destination CEO, and every single one of them is fruitfully employed and growing in their career. Thank you, Julia. Thank you for coming to the show. Thank you for sharing your story. Really, really appreciate it. So I ask you all, what do you want? what do you need? And like Biju says, what are you ready to give up in order to achieve what you want? So, what are you ready to give up? You need to look out for somebody that can mentor you, that can coach you, that can take you, perhaps. Or perhaps it's as simple as putting more focus on the applications, reaching out to people that are hiring for those positions, introducing yourself. Be authentic in your search. And I think every show, that's one thing that's common that I say. When you reach out to people, it's not, here's my resume, here's my profile. Could you give me an opportunity with your company? No, connect with them on a genuine reason on why you admire them. Why do you want them to spend their time to give you guidance? What makes them that special? So I know in my life and Julia's life, there is one coach that makes it special. Who's that person for you? And if you don't have that person, find that person, reach out to that person. Because guess what? You can either do it the hard way and learn from your experiences, or you can find somebody who's been through that journey and learn from their experiences. Thank you very much for joining us. And it is a beautiful sunny Monday in Toronto right now. I hope that you do take time to reflect on some of the things that we talked about, and wish you all the best in your journey. In terms of Resumania, we had a fantastic turnout last week. And if we're going to have it again, no, but we're having a lot of other stuff. So the only request I have for all of you that are watching this video right now or recorded version, please share this video so that somebody in your network who needs to hear this hears it and is inspired by Julia's journey and decides to make a change.
Meena, hello?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to add that one of the most important things I also learned was from Sina Foley. She told me the words you speak to yourself are very important, and those are the strongest words. So if I look back, and even today, I speak those words to myself where I tell myself I am good, I'm great at these things. And yeah, that helps a lot.
Yay, Sina Foley. Yes, Sina Foley is another one of our mentors, always with us and always supporting us. And she is watching us right now. So thank you, Sina. It's a big shout out to you. Thank you for always supporting us. And again, thanks, Julia. Thanks so much for sharing your journey. And we will see you again. Again in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Have a great day.